Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is 11:25 here on a beautiful Saturday. So hope everyone's doing good. We have there's a big show down in Rockland. If anybody is free, or it's a free show. There's it's a little mini rock festival really. There's four bands playing. It's in it's in Rockland, Maine, at Rockland Harbor. It starts pretty early during the day today, but the music starts about 5:30. There's some really great bands playing. There's going to be it's free. There's going to be food trucks. There's going to be a beer tent. Should be pretty cool. And there's Midnight Riders, which is a local band that I've played with off and on for a while. They're going to be playing kind of original, mostly. Well, the thing that's so awesome about this festival today is that all of the bands that are playing are all original, and they're all main bands, and they're all really great. So the first band I think that's playing is Midnight Riders. They're going on about 5:30 or so. They're kicking things off, and they're kind of like um, alt country, alt rock, all original bass stuff. And I think they hit the stage at 5:30, and then after that, there's another really phenomenal band called Oov, which is Oov is kind of a really cool band. They have this very proggy kind of sound. They're like prog rock. And they also have like a metal edge to their music. Swampy. A lot of times people describe their stuff as like swamp rock, but yeah, it's all original rock music with definitely a progressive prog rock kind of vibe, definitely a metal vibe. Really creative, all original band. They're going on, I think, second, and then the band I play in, Osmia's playing after that, and I'm really excited about sharing the bill with all of these bands. It's going to be in Rockland Harbor, right where they typically have, I believe, the Blues Festival and the Lobster Festival. And then Osmia's going on next. I think we're the third band, and we're going to be. Um, each band I think is playing about a 50-minute set or so, 45, 50-minute set. And we're kind of like noise rock, shoegazy kind of stuff. So, and then the last band that's kind of headlining the whole thing is a really great band from Portland, Scobie from Portland, Maine. They're all the way. They're coming from the farthest reaches. Phenomenal band, power trio. Totally unique, totally original. I love these guys. I don't know the best way I can. I saw them play at this festival that we played. Quantum and Scobie played at the same festival this year at the All Roads Festival, and I've seen Scobie play quite a few times at this point. Phenomenal band. They're kind of like a weird mix between like Lil Wayne, early Metallica, and Nirvana, and they definitely have a big time prog sound. Lots of odd meters and things like that, but really great. And they're going on, I think, at 9 o'clock. So yeah, come on by if you're around. So last night I went to a pretty phenomenal show at the Waldo Theater, and it was a show put on by Buffy and Sam, who are great friends of mine. They are most well known for the Waldo After Dark series, which is just pretty much the best film series around. The Waldo Theater is a beautifully relatively recently restored theater. It was pretty dilapidated, years and years ago. Finances had run out for that place to keep it up, and then the town and a lot of people put a lot of money into it and transformed this theater into this really beautiful state of the art theater. And I think it was maybe 3 years ago now, but the Waldo After Dark thing started. That's where I became familiar with the series and also became great friends with Sam and Buffy, who run the whole show. The Waldo After Dark is a real kind of distinct, niche little thing that's super cool. They specialize in showing a lot of 80s movies. They just recently showed the classic John Carpenter movie, They Live. They show a lot of exploitation movies, stuff that's like considered kind of B movie cult movies, definitely in the exploitation realm. Phenomenal films. They always show phenomenal movies. I've gone to it a shit ton of times and have experienced so many fantastic movies on the big screen. They did a phenomenal job with a big tribute to David Lynch. So really, really great. And the Waldo Theater itself is kind of a local treasure. I think it needs to be supported because it's such a great thing. Lots of great music. I got to see last summer. I got to see Sun Ra there, and that was just a phenomenal, uh, insane concert. And so they are able to like bring in a lot of big names. John Waters has been there, Henry Rollins. They've Andy Sumners from the Police has performed there. They've gotten a lot of great bands, and they do all of these film series. So the Waldo Theater itself, and it was last night's event that I went to was hosted by Sam and Buffy, who run the Waldo After Dark. But they showed there was a big show that they put on last night. The big presentation last night was called the Animation Mixtape, and it's basically a compilation of the short animated films from all kinds of different directors, and the time frame. A lot of these shorts were from 2014. Some were more recent. Some were even, I think there was one from the 80s, and so all kinds of eclectic styles of animation. Some and very wild visually, very definitely on the experimental side of things. It was really really cool. It was. I don't. I love animated films. I as far as like movies or things in that nature that I own, I am a big fan of anime, Japanese anime, mostly like old school stuff. But I do like some newer things. But I'm more of an old school guy when it comes to that style. And also, I'm a pretty big fan of a lot of the animated superhero movies that have come out. I have quite a few of those. I don't have a ton of anime just because I feel like a lot of those releases are still really, really expensive. But I do have a decent amount. But I have a lot of the comic hero based animated movies. These these shorts were quite a bit different, like worlds apart. These were definitely very experimental, kind of avant garde, but just really rich, really bold with color, really cool. They kind of play almost like silent films. There was only one or two that I remember where there was some degree of dialogue. Triplets of Belleville is one of my favorite animated films where that is virtually a short. The same directors did The Illusionist, which is another one that is just phenomenal. Kind of similar in style. Those films are both like full length features, but it was great. It started at about 7 o'clock last night. The whole presentation, and again, it was all kinds of different facets of animation, computer generated, claymation, stop motion, Yeah, I mean, just so many different styles, and each the thing that I loved was each director and each short really had its own kind of personality, and some were really funny. There was a lot of incredibly funny moments, and a lot of the shorts were incredibly strange and also incredibly dark and incredibly twisted, pretty morbid, and very psychedelic, very trippy in a lot of ways. And there were two animated shorts that one in particular that just blew my mind, and there was another one that I thought was just they were all phenomenal, but there were two that were just like phenomenal, and one in particular that I was kind of floored by. And I'm gonna do both of these animated shorts were so good and so well conceived and so interesting and so unique. And for the runtime, where I would say they're probably maybe 10 minutes at tops, they really I've really felt transported to a different universe. The whole presentation, and I'm gonna do separate two separate shows on those two animated shorts. The whole presentation kind of started at 7, and it wasn't that long of a presentation. It was like maybe an hour and 10 minutes, but it was so worth it. I don't really, as far as newer animated films, that's something I probably don't stay up on enough. But when I do see films in this style, I do really love it, and I do really, well, some of the shorts reminded me of Frank Zappa's Baby Snakes, which is there's a lot of animation in that, and it's super trippy and weird, and that's phenomenal. Some of that stuff reminded me of that movie, but it is a style that I don't stay up on, and but I'm open to it, and there is a lot in the genre that I love. One of the things that I got from this whole show or presentation was after it was over, I just felt really inspired. I mean, we live in some pretty, fucked up times, and I believe that we can kind of create our own reality. There's a lot of things that we can kind of create and be and feel that makes us feel maybe important or wanted or to show some kind of positivity in the light of extreme adversity. But that's hard to maintain, and sometimes we just don't want to do that. But I felt at the conclusion of this whole presentation, I felt really inspired. I was like, this is really cool, and it made me want to create art. It made me want to, I don't know, dig in a little bit deeper. And some of these shorts, again, some of them were quite a bit older, and there were some newer things. And I think one of the things that's so that I took away from this whole presentation was, well, not only the kind of the sheer beauty of a lot of these shorts, but the feeling of being really inspired. And the plus side, I think, of where technology is now. There's so many avenues for different artists, whether they are making short films, doing animated films, recording their own music, um, booking their own tours, making their own music videos, all kinds of things. There's so many. And again, I often feel like we live in the matrix, and there's always good and bad. I think when things, when there's seismic things that happen, and I think with technology, that's a given. But on the plus side and the positive side, artists are able to be more or less truly independent, keep their vision intact, and be able to create content, whether they're at home recording an album or whether they're doing a an animated series, making comedy skit videos. Curry Barker, who is a guy I just discovered who is just a phenomenon in the I think in the world of horror right now, is a primetime example of that. Somebody who just kind of created his own reality and uses the relatively inexpensive technology that's available to build this more or less this empire. And through making these short little horror films, and now he's got this new his first full length feature film, and it's all related to all of these things, you know. And I think there's been some uh, phenomenal albums that have come out, you know, and artists are able to do all of these things without the the level that or the burden that at one point it was maybe an impossible thing to do because financially or the technology wasn't available. But with this animated series and all of these things, like truly independent artists like can really create this you know incredible work in the comfort of their own home, and so it's pretty phenomenal. On the negative side, of course, I mean, I always have to, you know, try to balance it out. But on the negative side of things with technology, you know, there is this. Um, I think people are detached. You know, people spend a little bit too much time on their phones. I have to be pretty conscious of that sometimes because I am prone to do that too. Spending too much time, there is a disconnect with people. I think there is this, you know, in the age of streaming, you know, we kind of do live in this modern dystopia. So there is this disconnect. There is this um, strange kind of, you know, catfish environment that we live in. But I think I do, and when I really think about it, with where technology is and how we are able to how people are able to see these creative things and have access to them, and then the creators themselves, it's pretty phenomenal. Like there's so many more options for artists to create, and I think that seeing this mixtape of all of this animation really kind of drove that point further home for me in many ways. So this whole mixtape presentation, this animated mixtape presentation, was 85 minutes, and it was all kind of curated and put together by Don Hertzfield, who is an animated artist, and he kind of compiled all of this work. Really phenomenal. And again, there were two shorts that I was blown away by, especially this one short that I saw that was maybe I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or so, and I was just like I couldn't believe how fantastic it was. And it was this short called Zune, which came out. It looks like it came out in 2024, and it was directed by Jonathan Schwenk, and it was called Zune, and this was some of the best animation I've ever seen. It was super trippy. It was beautiful. It was pretty dark. I was enthralled with it. It was simply absolutely incredible, and I'm gonna do a show on a separate show just on this short, Zune. So stay tuned for that. And then there was another short that I saw that I was just about as equally blown away by, which I want to do another show, a separate show for, because I feel like these both of these shorts, especially Zune, was so uh, poignant and beautiful and bizarre that I got to do a show on. And there was the other one that I saw. I think it was called Jesus 2, was just completely bonkers crazy. Super twisted, super dark, very psychedelic again. Beautiful. The colors palette was just phenomenal. But yeah, this was a phenomenal time. I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for more presentations like this because, again, like I said, I this isn't a style that I'm, I guess, too versed in or that I've spent a lot of time in really checking it out, especially when it comes to kind of the more experimental side of things, which is a style that I just naturally gravitate towards. So thanks again to Sam and Buffy for putting this show together. I also went there with my friend Aaron, who's a great friend, and we're all great fellow film fanatics. We go to the movies as a group a lot together. Have seen and we've seen so many great movies, but this is a great presentation. So please support the Waldo Theater and please support the Wall After Dark series because it's a phenomenal thing. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.